Yo, Professor R here. That's disrespectful. I apologize for that. You shouldn't floss while you turn this goddamn. I'm sorry, but one, you shouldn't floss while you speak to people. Additionally, I had to turn that AC off because one, it's cold enough. Two, it's gonna distort the sound quality again and fuck things up. Okay, now this video is titled "My Approach to Arm Training." I might even title "How to Get Big Arms," but that's a bit cliche. I'm always a guy that overcomplicates things. So, okay, my approach to arm training has gone through several iterations over the course of my lifting journey, and I'm glad to say that I'm grateful I had to make these adjustments in order to get to where I'm at now. So, I'm proud to say after the training, this bicep, this tricep, the diameter of this thing, whatever, it's roughly 17 inches. That's unpumped, cold. I lost the tape measure. I can't measure it on screen to prove that, so you have to take my word for it. Sorry. I promise this isn't fake news. It's 17 inches all around. So who knows? Hopefully I can get the 18 inches in circumference by the end of circumference. Did I say circumference previously, or did I say diameter? Diameter is the incorrect terminology. It should be circumference. Circumference is the perimeter around the surface. But yeah, circumference. So I might be able to get 18 inches in circumference. Who knows? 20 some days. Who knows? Naturally. Disclaimer: I will include shoulders as part of the arms for this video because they are trained during certain days when I trained triceps and biceps prehistorically speaking. Historically speaking, if you can even call that history. Okay, let's get started. So initially, I used to have arm days where I would train triceps, biceps, and shoulders on Tuesdays and Fridays. While for Mondays and Thursdays, you see, this is why I hate record, because every time I record, some shit goes wrong. The camera went off. Piece of shit, goddamn trash. Okay, so let's get from the top of the morning. Okay, so initially, I used to have days where I would train triceps, biceps, and shoulders on Tuesdays and Fridays, while Mondays and Thursdays were reserved for chest and back. I switched it up for one of two reasons. So, reason number one, I got really bored. I was constricted to only isolation movements, and although the pump was nutty as fuck and it was invigorating towards the end of the workout, it felt as if I would be even more charged up for a larger portion of the day and enjoy the workout in its totality if I added at least one compound movement into the mix. And this eventually ended up becoming, after adding at least one compound movement, whatever, I think the compound movement that I added was it was either a T-bar row or a barbell row, and then I ended up adding more compounds, and then this brings me to reason number two. I discovered a workout split that I enjoyed so much so that I only made minor iterations to it during the past 2 years now. This split, as it pertains to the upper body training, is chest and triceps on Mondays and Thursdays, while back, biceps, and shoulders are reserved for Tuesdays and Fridays. I can already hear in the comment section, Professor Art, why are you training chest, triceps, and shoulders on Mondays and Thursdays? These are, you should include shoulders as well, because shoulders involve pushing movements, whatever, right? Well, not exactly. While a dumbbell shoulder press is synergistic with a bench press and an overhead tricep extension, a face pull necessarily isn't. Face pulls target the rear delts to an incredible degree if done correctly. Okay, this is another disclaimer I have to bring up. Just because Athlean-X has pissed a lot of you off doesn't negate the effectiveness of the movement. You have to learn to separate your dogmatic feelings of a person from their ideas for a change and accept what is correct while casting aside what may seem like gimmick bullshit. So yes, it is true that Athlean-X might have a bit of gimmicky based movements, and he does tend to overcomplicate certain programs. You should take things with a grain of salt, and you should take things passionately. It's fine to take things passionately, whatever. However, you should take what applies. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. Just cast it aside and take what works. Treat his philosophy as if it's Jeet Kune Do. I forgot what the fuck Bruce Lee's philosophy was, but basically eliminate what is unnecessary. If someone's giving you information and you can pinpoint what portion of the information is unnecessary, take from them what you will. Take from them what you can see yourself working, what works in line with your philosophy and what works in line with your programming methodology, and cast aside what seems like rubbish. And that's what I've done with AthleteNexus videos. There's certain videos in which I agree with them, certain videos I disagree with them. Face pulls are awesome, and I incorporate them on days where I train back, biceps, and shoulders because they're a great rear delt builder. A muscle group 99% of people at the gym undertrain. Conversely, the anterior delt, the front portion of the delt, they're working when you perform pec flies. Your rear delts are working when you perform skull crush. Your anterior delts are working when you bench press all the goddamn time. I said it previously. Your rear delts are working. Even depending on how you perform, even depending on how you perform, what the fuck is it called? Skull crushers. Wow, I just said it previously. If you perform in a certain fashion, your rear delts are gonna try to take over. That's if you don't try to make them go stationary. Like if you don't, it's almost like you're trying to pin your shoulders to your damn neck, which is kind of impossible now that I think about it. If you don't apply that philosophy in it, your shoulders are gonna try to take over, like the greedy little volume destroyers and volume developers they are. Just kidding. I love training anterior delts. I won't stop training anterior delts. Hell, I fucking love training shoulders, but the rear delt portion of your shoulder receives the least love out of anybody in the gym. The point is, as long as you perform at least one shoulder press, you not walk around like Larry the Lobster with zero shoulder development. But even if you hypothetically didn't, the shoulder receives a lot of love during pressing movements. During horizontal presses, during vertical presses, you're receiving a bunch of love, stimulus. For triceps after a heavy, triceps during my heavy chest day, I love performing a seated overhead tricep extension or the French press. It's a more palatable name. Let's just call it French press from now on. Even though I'm going to keep calling it overhead tricep extension because that's what I learned it as, that's what I acknowledge it as. Watching a bunch of P90X videos when I was a kid. Tony Horton would say that, get ready guys, overhead tricep extension time, and he would just say that long ass name, and I love the name even still to this day because I have a sentiment towards it. So I perform this for rep ranges of 6 to 8 on Mondays, and the set range will be 4 sets in totality, 6 to 8 reps on Mondays. But on Thursdays, after hitting chest, I will perform this for 3 sets. However, the rep ranges will be from 10 to 12. This same rep gimmick applies towards every isolation movement. It applies for shoulders, biceps, and triceps in totality. Like the rep range I'm giving you right now, this day A, day B split, where you have a certain muscle group, a certain exercise. You're performing it for 4 sets of 6 to 8 reps on certain days, and 3 sets for 10 to 12 reps on other days, where the B days I like to call it. So let's call it, even though I don't like the terminology as it pertains to isolation, because isolation movement shouldn't be power oriented. It should be more hypertrophy oriented. But my power days, I perform these movements for 6 to 8 reps. During my hypertrophy days, 10 to 12 reps. Now I love this gimmick because I love this gimmick because it forces me to recover while simultaneously breaking pre-existing plateaus that wouldn't be possible if I was training at intensity levels prompting or necessitating 6 reps. It allows my tendons to receive a break while forcing blood flow in certain muscle groups to avoid a loss in performance and a gain in muscle growth that wouldn't be possible through basic bitch deloads where you take 1 week off the gym. There are other methodologies of healing the muscle group or letting the muscle recover that doesn't involve just taking a week off the gym, or even 2 weeks, or even 3 weeks, as which deloading patterns where you can program intelligently in order to not have to take time off from the gym. Is what I'm trying to put. Now, from a performance aspect, the beauty of the scheme is it eventually allows you to perform weights that were once regarded as high intensity to a more steady and moderate state of intensity. I know it sounds like horseshoe voodoo rubbish bullshit, but I remember for the longest considering 70-pound skull crush to be intense, and I was only able to work this for 6 to 8 reps. Recently, I was able to actually skull crush 100-pound on the easy for 6 reps. On the flip side, I can perform 70 pounds on the easy with reps of 12. Hell, even reps of 15 if I'm feeling froggy enough. That's the beauty of this rep scheme that I've implemented. throughout the course of my 4.5 years of training. And I'm happy that I learned this way of training, because if I just stuck with the whole 6 reps, 6 to 8 rep range, 4 sets, I wouldn't be able to progress to where I'm at right now. And at least in my humble opinion, because you eventually stagnate. And adding more weight on the bar is just one form of progressively overloading. This is another way of progressively overloading, which what is previous intensity windows, previous intensity weights that prompted certain rep ranges. You can push them for even more higher rep ranges. That's another form of intensity, or another form of progressive overload that lifters should, the natural lifters at least, should incorporate within their programming, at least in accordance with how I program. So I perform these. Okay, so on back, what the fuck? Jesus Christ, I'm skipping. Okay, so now after performing these skull curls, I love tricep pushdowns as a finishing movement. Even though some people don't like the term finisher, but I perform it as a finisher movement. While it doesn't target the largest portion of the triceps, the horseshoe is still targeted. Like, you know, this portion of the tricep that pops out like that, this right here, man, I'm freaking jacked. Freaking ego boost right now. But this portion of the tricep right here, it's targeted when you're doing tricep pushdowns. And let's see, how many rep ranges did I put this for? Of course, yeah, the same concept applies. Even though I don't go for 6 reps only on these things, I try to push for 8 reps now recently, because I realized certain movements that I perform with the cables, you're going to have to probably push for higher rep ranges, and 8 is probably the lowest that I'm going to actually go forth in regards to this movement pattern. So yeah, that's for triceps. Now on back, biceps, and shoulders day, after targeting my back with the angle of Kratos towards the gods of Olympus, I actually wrote that in the script. I jumped straight towards curls to target the biceps. I performed these supinated curls for reps of 6 to 8, for on Tuesdays. However, and of course on Fridays, they're sets of 3 for 10 to 12 reps, as I mentioned previously in the video. This is followed by spider curls with the assistance of dumbbells, which I love supinating, of course, because supination is key. Supination. So I love supinated curling movements due to their tendency of recruiting some forearm while forcing the biceps to work in a way, and to work in a way it was designed to. The main purpose of the biceps are flexion and the outward rotation of the forearms. So it only makes sense to follow with dumbbells instead of a barbell. Even though I love barbells, they're my pride and joy, essentially, because I never had barbells growing up, right? My dad had 20-pound dumbbells, and I would do supinated curls, 20-pound dumbbells. However, the barbell, while some supination is done whatever, like if you kind of, I think they make some barbells like that where correct me if I'm wrong, but some barbells might exist like that, but it's easier to supinate with dumbbells. What the hell's going on with this, whatever. Okay, last but not least, I love finishing off the biceps with incline dumbbell curls, and I incorporated this as a finisher because it only makes sense from an intuitive standpoint. Performing something that was so foreign and difficult. It was a relatively new movement pattern for me during the year 2018, and it was noticeably hard to curl the way at an incline, at an angle of inclination. I noticed it was fucking difficult. So why not? So why not go off with a bend? Why not perform a movement that is new to me, that's relatively new to me, and that isn't going to be performed with a lot of weight anyway. So why not perform this movement at the end of the actual workout? Go off with a bang. I actually made the mistake of performing this initially, and a buddy of mine walked up and said, "Bro, like, this is a finisher, right? Like, this is often used as a finisher." And what's funny is, like, I only opened it up with that because I was been watching a bunch of YouTube videos, and I thought, hey, let me try to get better with this movement. However, why not get better at the movement when I'm at my weakest, relatively speaking? And I ended up progressively overloading your weight. Now, of course, this is performed on rep ranges on Tuesdays. This is performed on rep ranges of 6 to 8 reps, 4 sets, and on Fridays, the same scheme, 3 sets of 10 to 12 reps. Now, moving on to shoulders. I fucking love training shoulders. As you can tell, I love training shoulders. When I'm done with my incline curls, I immediately hit face pulls for 4 sets of 10 to 15 reps on Tuesdays, while on Fridays I hit this movement for the same pattern of 3 sets of 10 to 15 reps. So this is a movement where I made an exception for the 6 to 8 rep range. So I ditched the 6 to 8 rep modus operandi for this particular movement because it was ridiculous to hit such a small muscle group with that level of intensity, and I realized it responded better to high rep ranges. I noticed the pump felt better. I noticed that my shoulder mobility improved upon hitting it for high rep ranges. And I noticed a more fresher approach to how I was sitting down. I felt rejuvenated, and I felt the burn to a heavier extent. It's almost similar to the tricep pushdown. It's almost like cable movements. You shouldn't be you shouldn't have a level of intensity that prompts 6 rep ranges. Like you might want to go higher than that with certain cable movements. And I know it's crazy, right? You know, certain muscle groups just don't respond well at certain intensity levels while others do. Furthermore, it's not that I wasn't receiving relevant stimulus within 6 to 8 rep ranges for rear delts. It's that, as I said previously, I received a greater stimulus via high rep ranges, and my shoulder health improved. Yeah. Now, after face pulls as a time saver, I love supersetting my crucifixion lateral shoulder presses. I called that in the script. Like, honestly, I just wanted to give it a more biblical name because I already started with Kratos, so why not give it a more biblical name? Because, you know, the gods, you know. I think it sounds cool. So I do the lateral raises with seated dumbbell presses, and I decided to train shoulders from the outside in as opposed to the inside out. Because rear delts, side delts, rear delts and side delts, they don't receive a lot of love as the anterior delt does, right? Remember what I said earlier, the delts are a greedy consumer of volume and, the anterior delts are a greedy consumer of volume and intensity. They're going to try their damnedest to get their volume in. They want to eat. Think of it as food. This fat bastard over here eats a lot, right? And he's going to eat so much weight that when you want to train your rear delts, you're not going to have enough energy to actually pull right. This is a smaller muscle group. So why not training from the outside in? Why not allow this guy to eat first and this guy to eat second, and this guy, this fat bastard needs to go on a diet. Like, have him eat last. Even though he's going to grow, you're going to contribute to the overall growth of the 7 head of the shoulders. You're going to have very balanced shoulders, and you're going to have those to grow from you high control shoulders. You're going to be massive, mugging every freaking body. You're going to look freaking awesome, right? And your shoulders going to pop more, right? So in regards to programming, it only makes sense for me to ensure that they get their lunch at the end of the workout, leaving some food for the poor rear delts. Now, what the fuck did I do with this shit? Jesus Christ. Okay, so as far as side delts are concerned, I love squishing them in the middle as opposed to separating the movement entirely, because as a time saver, I love supersets. And I noticed that all of my performance would decline on shoulder presses. It's practically negligible. My performance on shoulder presses declining is practically negligible because lateral raises aren't performed with super heavy weights to begin with. So, as I'm recording this video, would you believe it? The piece of shit camera destroyed itself again, and I had to. So my setup is entirely different. Hell, even the background looks a bit different. So it doesn't take a rocket science for you that. Even the lighting is different because I'm recording this the following day because let's get this shit on the road. To make a long story short, the camera shit itself again, and I'm kind of tired. So let's just finish the entire video. Okay, so as far as side delts are concerned, I love. Shit's fucked up. Okay, I love squishing them in the middle, but as a time saver, I perform supersets, and I noticed that although my performance, holy crap, the AC is on, it's fucking everything up. Hold on. Much better. I always forget to turn the AC. I always forget to turn the AC off. So okay, so as far as side delts are concerned, I love squishing them in the middle. But as a time saver, I perform supersets, and I noticed that although my performance would decline on shoulder presses, it's practically negligible because lateral raises aren't performed with super heavy weight. You're never going to perform a lateral raise with 45 pounds or even 50 unless you're a Mr. Olympia freak. But hell, I'm not saying it's impossible, but you're not going to perform super levels of weight in order to perform like lateral raises. Is not going to happen. And afterwards, I'll perform dumbbell presses, and performance would decline because previously, when I had enough time, I would simply just go from rear delts to lateral raises for 4 sets of 10 to 12 reps, and let's see, 3 sets of 10 to 12 reps on Fridays, and 4 sets of 6 to 8 reps on Tuesdays. And then after that, whatever, I would do my shoulder presses because the outside in method. But then as a time saver, I decided, you know what, supersets are optimal. Supersets are awesome. And at first I was kind of hesitant to do a superset, but then I realized that my performance wasn't declining. It wasn't declining to the extent that would warrant me to change everything around, or the extent that would warrant me to stop doing that, or even stop enjoying my workout entirely. So I ironically enjoy my workout more that I added the superset. And so when you are ready to perform your shoulder press, you should still be able to press a respectable amount of weight. Also, as a side note, for the love of God, for the love of Kami, always perform the shoulder presses with the upper portion of the bench at a slight incline. What I mean by this is it's where you are leaning back slightly. Don't perform a shoulder press like I see people normally do. They'll hog the bench that's like flat at the overall well, not the base of it, but it's basically like it's like this chair. This chair isn't lean. It's just stationary. It's just like flat, and it doesn't have the ability to actually incline back a bit. So you want that incline back a bit, whatever. That way your anterior delt will thank you in the future. And you should perform these movements in an optimal fashion that won't fuck your rotator cuff, because that happens a lot. People, they're pressing with shoulder presses, they're pressing a lot of weight, and they refuse to incline the actual bench back a bit because they conflate it with, oh, if I incline it, now I'm targeting my upper portion of the chest, whatever. Oh man, it's bad. No, it's not bad. Depending on how you're built, yes, you might get some upper pecs. But from my perspective, I don't feel my upper pecs engaged until, ironically, after the workout. And as this is like slight minute soreness, but this is only in relation to my chest day previously, and the soreness is awesome. I wear it with a badge of honor, but the soreness isn't excruciating, and the soreness isn't an indicator of it being driven away from the anterior delt. No, the anterior delt still receives work, even when depending on whatever press you're doing, as I mentioned previously, this is redundant as hell, I'm repeating myself, but depending on whatever press you're doing, your anterior delt is going to get freaking volume into it. And so yeah, your shoulders will thank you. I'll perform this sequence of movements with rep ranges of 6 to 8 for 4 sets on Tuesdays, and of course on Fridays, this is performed for reps of 10 to 12 for 3 sets. That's the end of this video. Ironically, I'm actually happy the camera cut out yesterday, because now I can experiment with these camera angles and shit, and I like this camera angle even more. It's awesome. Even though my forehead looks slightly larger in this camera angle, it's not. I've kind of a caveman forehead, trust me. Yeah, this is a pretty decent camera angle. I love it. All right, guys, peace.
Choose your fighter.